I'm just going to go over two word problems that I did, for one for track A, one for track B, just to kind of show you the extension word problems. Okay, so in this problem right here, we're looking at how there's a parabola shape in the rock here, and how the width across here, or the distance across, is a function of the height of the arch. This is the equation that is used to describe it. So if you want, you can replace the h with a y and the d with an x. So you would get y equals negative 2.5 x squared minus 30x minus 67.5. There. And then the first question is determine the maximum height of the arch. So essentially what we're looking at is that we have this scenario, okay, this parabola here, and we have distance here, okay, d, but we're going to use x instead, so, or x, and then we have height, okay, so this was height, or we can say y, okay, like that. Now, if we want to find the max height is found by looking for the vertex of the parabola. So before we can find the y value of the vertex, you need to find the x value of the vertex, this value here. And the way to find the x value of the vertex is to use this formula. Okay, this formula gives you the x value of the vertex. So if we do negative b, so positive 30 over 2 times a, you're going to get 30 over negative 5, which is negative 6. Okay, so the x value of the vertex is negative 6. So this is happening at negative 6 on the x-axis right here. All right, now we don't want the x value because that just gives us distance. We want to know the y value, which is the max height. Right? So we take this equation, the quadratic equation up here, and we're going to plug in negative 6 for d, or for x, and figure out what y is. Right? Negative 2.5, negative 6 squared, minus 30 times negative 6, minus 67.5, right? You gotta do order of operations first, so you gotta do the negative 6 squared, which is positive 36. You multiply these, you're gonna get positive 180. And now when you multiply these two terms, when you multiply these, you're gonna get 90. Right? And negative 90 plus 180 is positive 90. Positive 90 subtract 67.5 is 22.5. So that height, the max of this arch, is happening at 22.5 meters. Now the next question says, and that's the answer. Make sure you put your units in meters. Next question says, determine the width of the arch where it meets the water. They want to know, what is the distance across here? All right, now we can find this distance if we know what the two x-intercepts are, okay? So if we find out what these two values are, the x-intercepts, we'll be able to find the distance between them if we know what they are. So we find x-intercepts by using the quadratic formula and setting our equation equal to 0, okay? So set this equation equal to 0, because at a height of 0, we're going to figure out the two x-intercepts. Okay, I just replaced my d's with x's. Y is 0, because that's the height. Y is 0, where our x-intercepts happen. All right, so we're set equal to 0. We're going to use the quadratic formula. X-intercepts equal negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Negative b, so negative 30, which is positive 30. B squared, so negative 30 squared, negative 30 times negative 30 is positive 900, minus 4 times the a value times the c value, like that, all over 2 times the a value, like that. Okay, so simplify using order of operations. You're going to have to go 900, subtract all of this, okay? You know the second half under the radical is going to be negative because a negative times a negative times a negative is a negative. Okay, so 4 times 2.5 times 67.5. So we got 30 plus or minus 900, subtract 675. 2 times this is negative 5. All right, under the radical, we have 225. 30 plus or minus 225. Okay, take the square root of 225. Okay, so at this point we should get 2 answers. One if we add 15, one if we subtract. So if we add, we have 45 on the top, we'll get negative 9 as an answer. And if we subtract 15, we get 15 on top, negative 3. So if our x-intercepts are, this one is negative 3, this one's negative 9, that's a difference of 6 units, so 6 meters, right? So we have a split of 6 meters at the base of the parabola here. So 6 meters. State the domain and range where the rock is above and visible, okay? That just means that we can't go below where y is 0, and we can't, our y values have to be less than 22.5 and between 0 and 22.5. Our x values, have to be between negative 3 and negative 9. All right, so we would say x has to be greater than or equal to negative 9, but less than or equal to negative 3, where x belongs to a set of real numbers. For our y can be anything underneath 22.5 but above 0. So y greater than or equal to 0, 22.5, like that.